she taught me during Erotica because I didn't know anything about this. So she said to me, I need to teach you how to do union contracts. And she sat down with me at the board. She goes, so when you have these musicians come in and play, she let me bring in whoever I wanted. She asked me, she goes, do you want to do this on your own or do you want Shep to help you? And I said, I want to do it on my own. And she said, okay. That is something I will never forget because she actually gave me the option to decide. And I'm not going to lie, man, that lady never batted an eye, never questioned, never looked back.
Welcome. This is Madonna's Songbook, the podcast about Madonna's great songwriting and producing talent. I'm your host, Giulio Mazzoleni. Last year, I released Madonna's Songbook, the ultimate book about Madonna's music. It covers all over 500 songs, released and unreleased, at least until her new album comes out, and I can't wait for that. But first, I want to thank all the people from every part of the world who have sent positive feedback on my book, the podcast, and the Instagram account. If you want to grab one of the remaining copies of the book, which won't be reprinted, check the links in the description of this podcast or the link in bio on my Instagram account, which is called, guess what? Madonna Songbook. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast so that you get notified when new episodes come out, and you can look back at the previous episodes of this season and the previous two. This podcast is on YouTube, Spotify as a video, but if you prefer to just listen, you may also find it on Apple and Podbean. Now, let's start today's episode. Without further ado, let's take a journey into Madonna's Songbook. A very media-shy producer is with us for a rare interview, so we're lucky. We're going to hear straight from him how he and Madonna made some hip-hop cool music. Okay, now let the music take control. All right, the special guest of this episode is a very, very special producer. You know, Madonna has collaborated with so many songwriters, musicians, producers, but there's one a lot of people are curious to know more about. I would say someone who's a bit media shy and more focused on working than actually boasting for what he does. But there's a lot of stories that you can find out about what he's done with Madonna, and I'm talking about amazing songs. Justify My Love, the Erotica songs. It's Andre Betts. Welcome, Andre, on Madonna Songbook podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's a very big pleasure of mine. First of all, thank you for the beautiful interview you gave me, for trusting me when I was writing my book. I was introduced to you by Doug Wimbish, the bass player that played on Madonna's Erotica, and very nicely we bonded, and you gave me a lot of feedback and stories on these songs that the Madonna fandom really loves. The other songs from Erotica, not the ones Madonna did with Shep Pettibone, but the other side of the medal, the coin, and the more intimate, the more sexy, there was a lot in that record, and I can't wait for you to share it with the viewers and listeners of this podcast.
Here for it.
Let's hit it off right away because, you started big. We will talk about your background, but I want everyone to know right away that your first record, the first record you produced was Justify My Love. You were a young kid and you had a big experience. Tell me about it.
It was unexpected, number one. I grew up in the Bronx, and in my apartment, I used to, set up a reel-to-reel to do loops and program and put my music together. And, I got asked about DJing on something because a friend of mine across the street was invited to do this thing that Lisa Bonet and Lenny Kravitz were doing. And one day, Lenny was like, hey, man, I'm going out to California to work on Curtis Mayfield. Superfly 1990.
Superfly.
Yeah, him and Ice-T. He was like, why don't you come with me? You can work on it with me. I was like, okay. Went out and ended up working on that. We had, I think it was like a 7-day lockout, a 5-day, but we were done in 3 days. Like everything was finished. So I stayed there and I started working on, music. And Lenny had a friend over at the time, and he ended up leaving her there. And I'm working on, music. And I don't know, it was like 2, 3 in the morning. She came to me and was like, I wrote something to your music because I was working on a track. Was working on the beat that I didn't know it was for that, but Justify My Love. I used to do the same beat in the Bronx, but I wanted to hear what it sounded like in the studio, but I didn't bring the cassette with me. So I had to recreate it. Problem with recreating it is I did the loop with a reel to reel at 7.5 inches per second.
Hmm.
So that, gave me a decent length of tape to connect and put on the reel to reel. I had these two glasses that I would have on my table, and I would push the glasses out, and it would put pressure on the playhead, and the beat would start playing. In the studio, this was 30 inches per second, a lot more tape. So, an 8-bar loop. It was a pile of tape on the floor. So I gathered up all the microphone stands they had, ran them out of the studio, down the hallway, in the office, back in, back around, back into the thing. The engineers looked at me like, "What are you doing? We have sequences. We have, we need to do Simply time code." I said, "Listen, man, I want to do this the way I do it at home." And he was like, "You know what? Whatever."
Because you weren't trained at the time, so you were just
No,
growing
not.
with your own
I
experiments.
didn't even know what Simply time code was. I was just like, I don't care about none of that you're saying. I just know that this beat will work.
Will work the way I
And
wanted.
I had to turn the studio around backwards. He lost his mind with that. He was like, "What are you doing? We can't do that. It's too late." He went out. Had it turned around backwards. I hit play. Didn't work. I had to go and clean off each mic stand. So I'm like, that's because I used to clean off my glasses. I'm like, this, it's got to be something that's stopping it. I had the guys, the interns in there helping me move the microphones, hit play again. The beat took off. Added little things to it. Lenny came in around who knows what time. And when he came in, I had Ingrid's vocal was off. He came in and
Ingrid Chavez.
yes. I didn't know who she was at the time, but I realized after he came in and he was like, it was just a track. He was like, "Oh my God, what's that?" And basically he was just like, "Oh man, I need that. I need to sing on that. I got an idea." So he ran in the vocal booth, and her vocal wasn't on still. And the crazy thing is she wanted to sing on her stomach. So the mic was on the floor, like mic stand very low, like, maybe a foot from the floor.
For intimacy, for a poetic delivery. She was lying.
Yeah. And then he didn't ask any questions. He just went in there, saw the mic on the floor, and he went on the floor too. It's like whatever. Went, laid down the vocal, and his vocal that he laid down was he hummed a lot. He hummed through the song, which was going to be the melody that he eventually wanted to write to.
Right.
Came out the room. I unmuted Ingrid Chavez and lowered Lenny's vocal, and that was Justify My Love.
So essentially, you created the song in free studio time, extra studio time in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
In a couple of nights, it was done.
Yeah, one night.
So Lenny's management heard it, played it to Madonna's management, thinking it was good for her. Freddie DeMann, who was Madonna's manager, agreed on that. You guys flew back to New York and played it to Madonna, who
ultimately said that she wanted to do it. There was a problem, though. Problem is, Lenny contacted the studio in LA and asked them to send the reel that we had did the beat on. I had did the beat on, and to ship it back to New York, and it never arrived. Went back to New York, redid it. Lenny came in, and we recorded line by line, line by line, line by line, and he would listen to what he did and do it because Madonna said she literally said this, that she wanted it exactly the way it was on what she heard.
On your
If you have
demo.
a copy of it, yeah.
This isn't the first time when she really likes a song that she hasn't written and she hears something, she feels the way it is originally. There are
Hmm.
songs that she has completely turned around like a sock, but for example, Like a Virgin or Justify My Love, she heard the demo and she wanted to do it exactly as she fell in
Yeah,
love with it the first time. So it was
that's
your
exactly
whole
what she.
merit for bringing together this whole song.
Hmm.
What was the first day with her in the recording studio when she started singing?
The first day with her in the recording studio, I was there with the cassette player. So I would hit play, engineer would record, I would hit play on the cassette, we would get a line, she would do it back, and she would ask me, how do you feel that was? So now for the first time, I'm being asked my opinion by someone of her caliber. And my honest response was, that's not it. You gotta lay back the line a little bit. I'm wondering like, oh, how's she gonna take this? Her response was, okay, cool, let's do it again. She did it again, and she did exactly the right way. And then she goes, all right, perfect. So let's go to the next one. And went through, and as we went through, now instead of her asking me something, now I have all this confidence. Now I'm like, yeah, no, you know what? We need to do that one over too, or or if it was right, it was perfect, and so we created a bond. There wasn't anything else to do but mix the song. Everything's done because the song was only 5 tracks, and
Right.
it
Very,
was,
very simple.
yeah,
And for the first time in her career, she was speaking. She wasn't literally singing most of the song.
yeah.
It was very, very new. So this was built line by line, and you
Hmm.
started developing confidence as a producer as she
Yeah,
was developing a new technique that she would later on in the following album use a lot. So it
yeah.
was a big moment for both of you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the other thing is that during this process, when it finished, I ran into a similar situation that I did in LA, and that was leftover studio time. So I think we had like 3 days or something booked out. So I wanted to use all of that time as well. So I went in the next day, and I started working on a remix. So I put together a beat for a remix, and this will kind of show you the type of person Madonna is. I have like literally the utmost respect for her because of not necessarily because she allowed me to produce on her record. Of course, I have a lot of respect for her for that, but for some of the other decisions and things that happen along the way, um, that really made me look at her like, damn, she's really a good person. But for whatever reason, she used to call me Big Head as a, what's up, Big Head? And I was just like, okay. Now, then I had like, dreads and a lot of
Ah,
hair. And
okay. Big hair.
so as big as my head is now was even bigger then, right? So I went in to do the remix, and she had came by, the next day to touch up a couple things that she wanted to touch. She changed a few lines. Um, she changed Jamaica to Paris and a few other lines she changed in the song.
Interesting. So essentially, which is something I talk a lot about in my book, is that Madonna had the sensibility to change minimal lyrics, as she's
Yes, it
credited
was
for,
minimal.
but important things. I Wanna Kiss You in Jamaica, from the original inspiration of Ingrid Chavez, became I Wanna Kiss You in Paris, which is
Yes,
followed by I Wanna Hold Your Hand in Rome. And
exactly.
things like this can be very subtle, but can make a pop song a hit or a
Yeah,
song a pop song because it's
absolutely.
relatability for the Western world, for the market Madonna had
Hmm.
at the time and still has, being strong in North America, South America, but also Europe. Paris as the most romantic city in the whole world as a
Absolutely.
concept. This was very subtle, but very, very intelligent. And this
Which,
tells a lot about
yeah,
her.
she knew what she was doing, But so I had stayed late that night, and I said, "Hey, I got something I want to play you." And I said I started a remix on Justify, and I taken the vocal and flipped it, and I hit play, and she was like, "I love it. I want to have it as a remix." So I was like, "All right, cool." So I went back, and I told Lenny's manager, and Lenny, I'm like, "Yo, I played Madonna remix, and she loves it." So I wasn't thinking about like money at the time. It was just about me showing what I'm able to do. And then one day, Steve, who was Lenny's manager, came to me, and he made an offer to me for the remix. I guess if you really think about it, for a young up and coming, producer that hadn't done anything, but it was low, it was really low. But just something about it just didn't feel right to me. And I felt a little disrespected. So I said, I know when Madonna's working. I'm going to call her. I was told by a few people, she'll never answer your phone. You're nobody. I said, it doesn't matter. I'm going to call her anyway. I called her, and I'm not going to lie. I said, yeah, hi, may I speak to Madonna? And there was a silence on the phone at the studio, like, excuse me? And I was just like, and then I remembered she told the story that when she goes to certain places and checks in the hotel, that she goes by Dita Parlo. So I was like, okay, well, yeah, well, Dita is Dita Parlo, and they was like, can you hold, please? At that point, I was just like, okay, at least I got past the first person. And when she picked up the phone, it was the biggest sigh of relief. Not her answering the phone, but how. She answered the phone and she says, what's up, big head?
Big head. And the
Exactly.
butterflies in your stomach flew away.
Just gone. And I was like, well, I'm calling you because I want to give you the remix that you heard as a gift. And she goes, well, why would you do that? I said, this is what I'm being offered for this remix. And I'd
By
rather,
Lenny's management.
yes. And I said, I'd rather give it to you for free. And she goes, wait a minute, you're being offered what? And I told her, she goes, can you stay on the phone? Hold on. Boom. Next thing you know, Freddie the Man comes in. I
Becomes a
drank.
business talk.
Yeah. And put it like this. When I got off the phone, Madonna had instructed, and this is what I mean by the type of person she is. Even though they had already paid out for the remix, rather than go back and forth and haggle, because she knew it was out of my hands at this point, they wrote me a check for $15,000. Never have at that point in my life had I seen money like that.
The
And
first big check you ever made.
yeah, and the first thing I did was got an apartment on 51st Street.
So it was a great bonding experience. And she really liked your music and she liked your remix. And she did something, by the way, that she had never done before.
hmm
You had done 3 remixes, essentially. The hip hop remix,
Yeah.
the
hmm
English mix that was unreleased, but is available online. If you guys want to look onto YouTube, you may find it. And it's actually a foreshadowing arrangement of the music you did later on with Madonna, with piano and jazzy sounds.
hmm
The hip hop remix, which is a step further with Justify My Love, the album version, which is already a new adventure for Madonna. Hip hop had been around for about 15 years, but it was the first time Madonna was doing something like that, or any mainstream white chick doing that kind of music.
Yeah,
So it was a big, bold
absolutely.
step. And also, it was a very intense song with lines like, poor is the man whose pleasures depend on the permission of another. That means a lot to the gay community, to any liberated woman, to a lot of men that consider themselves free.
Lenny actually was on one of those with her. Because, well, there's one remix that I don't think anyone really heard. There was one where that same beat, the hip hop remix beat, not to
Mhm.
cut you off, but the hip hop remix beat, Madonna and Lenny went in the booth together, literally together. And Lenny was going, Justify my love. And Madonna was going, Justify, justify my love now. Justify, justify my love.
We
Did you
got
ever hear
it.
that?
Yeah, we got it.
Oh,
We love it.
I didn't know if that one actually came. Yeah, so that was her and Lenny in the booth together on that
In
one.
a new recording, in a follow-up session from the original session of Justify My Love.
Yeah, it wasn't the original. Yeah, it was
Which is
later on.
fantastic because, as I was saying, it's the first time that Madonna sits in the studio to work on a remix by singing again, because usually she hands out the vocal tracks and sends it to the
Yeah,
DJ
she
and she
came in.
receives back the remix. So there was a new kind of working for her. And the next step is the creation of a remix that is so revolutionary that it becomes a whole new song per se, and it gets called The Beast Within. How did that
hmm
come together?
Yeah. Well, I was in there. She says, "Oh, I have something I want to do," and went to. Matter of fact, we were at Unique Recording Studios when we did that one, and she went in the booth, and this was one take, man. Went in the booth. She had the Bible out, and she went down. it took as long as it took to listen to, is the same length of time it took to do it. We hit
One
record.
take.
There was no stopping. I remember it because that had me like, damn. It was just we hit record, she started, and when we hit stop, that was it. And she knew it was it. It wasn't like you could tell it wasn't a thought of let me do it again or any of that. She was done. She did
The
that in one take.
total immediacy of inspiration. One take.
Yeah.
And it became a song on itself. And Madonna has put it in so many of her live shows. The Girly Show, Reinvention, Celebration Tour, she really cares about that song. She even did a whole exhibit and photographic project with Stephen Klein called Ecstatic Process. And the song that was synced to those images was The Beast Within. So throughout these years, she's cherished this one.
Do you know, along with your listeners, I'm learning stuff too because I didn't know any of that. I didn't know.
Well, your music is often in her shows.
I love it.
She really cares about it. And so do we. I'm not surprised to hear that it was one take only. It's really immediate. It's so inspiring. And also that sample that she put in it by Farouz, the Lebanese singer that she
Yeah.
picked again for Erotica. She also got a lot of trouble on that song for that sample, but she always uses, it's very inspiring. And it
Mhm.
opened a lot of new doors musically for her.
That's great. I mean, thank you for sharing because I really didn't know. If you ever get a chance, send me a little of this info, man, because I didn't know
Well,
about
you
it.
have the book. It's in it. Check it
Okay,
out.
okay.
Also, it's great to discuss this with you because, as I was telling you before recording, a lot of Madonna fans are mostly curious about the work you did with her. Tell us, after this beautiful experience of Justify My Love, and even after Erotica, what were
Mhm.
the things that you produced musically? I also know you're a photographer. You're not just a musician. You're multi-talented. Tell us more about it because a lot of people would like to check out other songs that you did.
Okay. Following that, I went to work with Living Color because, like I said, Doug Wimbish has been a longtime friend of mine. I did a song on the. They used to rehearse at a place called What the Fuck Factory, WTFF. Okay, so that's what the song was end up being named. It was called WTFF. Later on, I did Michelle Indegiello. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, and the way that was done was on Madonna's dime because during Erotica, when the sessions was over, we kind of bring Michelle in on some stuff. To work in the studio. That's why during lunch one day, during the Erotica album, I said to Madonna, I said, listen, I gotta play you something and just want to play it for you first because you kind of paid for it. And it was
If that's your
Michelle's,
boyfriend.
yeah. Yeah, it was not just that, it was Dreadlock, If That's Your Boyfriend, there's a couple
Oh,
others that we had done. And Madonna heard it. I think I played her like 4 songs. It was enough that she says, can you get her to California? Michelle went out to Cali and got signed to Maverick. And Freddie calls me and asks me, he says, hey man, listen, Lionel Richie's gonna be coming to New York. Um, you think you guys could, work together?
mhm.
Yes, absolutely. Lionel comes over, and I had Doug come in and play bass and stuff like that. And um, Lionel ended up putting the song on his album Someday.
What's
Um,
it called, the song?
Someday is the song.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's on his Lionel. I think it's on his Lionel album, and it's called
Okay.
Someday. So we wrote it together. I didn't get to produce it because there was already a producer, the same producer that did the Commodore stuff was the one that was producing it. James Anthony Carmichael, I think his name is.
Mhm.
Um, and so he ended up producing it. But I wrote with Lionel on it. The legendary Barrington Levy, who did Murderer and this, that, and the other. I did 3 songs on his album. Then later on, and I got this call that Shaka Khan had been trying to do a version of Fleetwood Mac's Everywhere, and supposedly she didn't like any of the versions. We did it, and Shaka killed it. So, and it ended up going gold. And there was, man, it's a lot of stuff that I got called in to ask, Shakespeare's sister.
Yeah.
I ended up doing a remix on them that went gold.
Stay with me.
Yes, yes. And there's a lot of I'm gonna be honest with you, man. There's a lot of stuff that I did that I have to actually go on allmusic.com.
Yeah.
Not to give them a plug or anything, but it's like some people is like, oh, you worked on this, and I'm like, I did, and I'll go and I'll look on All Music, and it's there. Listen, well, there's a lady named Royal Deb. I'm doing her stuff. Matthew Whitaker, who's an amazing young man, that just amazing musician, just happens to be blind, and he's incredible. He's always, he's here a lot. He's been working, I've been working with him since he's like 13, and he's like family right now. He's always here. An amazing songwriter. His name, well, he goes by Velous,
Hmm.
Velous. He wrote, was one of the writers for No Guidance for Chris Brown, and he did another song with Chris Brown and Fabulous called Flip Mode, and he's in the video with that. So he and
Okay.
I are doing right now we have a 5 girl group that we're working on right now, out of my studio. So he and I are producing it. He's got tons of hits. Cardi B, Kalani, Bryson Tiller. He's on everybody's, record as a songwriter. So together we're about to put this girl group out. We're still working on a name, but
Gotcha. Can't wait
that's
to hear that.
yeah. Oh no, it's gonna be amazing because all 5 girls. It's a 5 girl group. They're all amazing. So we're working on
Awesome.
that.
So
And
there's plenty stuff to discover that you did. So
absolutely, absolutely,
go out
and
on allmusic.com and look up all the things that Andre Betts is credited for.
when people ask me how do you make it in this industry, and I tell them straight up, I was like, I don't know. But the only answer I can give you is be prepared in case something happens. Because all my time of working in the Bronx for free allowed when I did get an opportunity that I was prepared for it. When I did go into the studio and Madonna was in there behind the mic, one reason why I did feel comfortable is because recording artists like Jamaica in the Bronx back in the day, and Ja Dave and JB and all, and I'm saying these names because these are the people that I was working on. And the crazy thing is that JB, God bless him, he just passed. Madonna, he met Madonna, and it just goes to show her mentality because she was doing a song with Shep, and she asked me, "Do I know any Jamaican rappers?" We
Oh,
call them
so he
DJs.
sang on Why Is It So Hard? So essentially, this guy sang on Why Is It So Hard on the demo. Eventually, his take wasn't used, but a
Yes,
little snap of it is available on a demo that circulates online. Again, you guys look out for it.
I need
But
that because I never heard it.
I'll send it to you.
I have to have it, man, because
Okay,
I
let's.
never
I
heard it.
promise. There's just a little bit that they used. They eventually cut the whole thing. But before we go on to Erotica, I just wanted to show you. I don't know if you've ever seen this. Do you know what this format is? This is the Justify My Love 3-inch single from Japan. I'm showing it to the viewers of the podcast on
No,
YouTube and
I've never seen
Spotify.
it.
It's a fantastic mini CD single that was issued for a few years. And I think I wanted to show it to you and the viewers because it represents how far your song went, your first production. It became
Wow.
a big hit all over the world. Okay, let's talk about the Erotica songs. So in the fall of 1991, Madonna comes back from filming A League of Their Own with Penny Marshall. She worked hard on that. She learned to play baseball, but she also got really bored and started thinking about her new music and accepted the offer from Steven Meisel to make a photographic book with erotic photos. So she's pulling together the project for the sex book, and she's starting working on Erotica with Shep and then calls you, right?
Yep.
What happened?
After doing Justify My Love, I would always get these little, like, people would always like be like, hey man, I think Madonna's on the line or whatever, just jokes. And so during this time, I'm leaving the studio, and a lady by the name of Pantera Saint Montaigne, who was the receptionist at Science Lab, she goes, Dre, you have a phone call. And I'm like, I don't really get phone calls here. I'm like, who is it? She's at the phone like this. She goes, she said it's Madonna. I'm like, I'm like, you know what? Whoever it is, just stop playing. She goes, no, Dre, I'm not gonna lie, it really does sound like her. It doesn't sound like her. And I was like, whatever. I take the phone. I'm like, yeah, hello. She goes, what's up, big head? And I was like, oh shit, it is her. And I was like, what's up? She goes, I'm coming to New York next week, and I'm gonna be there for a little while. She goes, would you be interested in working with me on my record? I was like,
Wow.
hell yeah. She goes, okay, set up a place for us to work. I don't want it to be anywhere where I'm it's visible that I'm in town. No big fancy studios. Just find a place for us to work. At this time, I had been doing commercials, jingles at a place called JSM Music. And their first studio that they started with was one called Poolside, which they really didn't use anymore, but they still had a lease on it. And it was kind of like not really a dump, but kind of. But like nobody
Mhm.
really worked in there, so it wasn't kept up. But it was in the cut, and nobody would know that you were there. Like anybody else from JSM, nobody would know Madonna's in the building. She and I started coming up with ideas, and all of a sudden, I look and I see this. And I'm not exaggerating. I see this big ass rat. I saw him from way over and I see him run, and the only place to come is this way. So I have my feet, I'm at the console. I have my feet up like this right now. I'm like, my legs are up, and I'm trying like not to be noticed. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, yeah, look at this idea. And we were working on Where Life Begins. I look at her and she looks at me and she has this big fur coat on, like full length, bruh. And she says, Dre, why are you being such a pussy? It's just a fucking rat. I said, what? I said, you're not afraid of a rat? She says, I'm from Detroit. And to me, it was like that was a moment where our first real joking moment, happened right there. And the jokes just continued throughout the writing process, and then the recording process started. And it was just back and forth with us, like nonstop. And like she even walked into the store that I was in. She walked in right behind me. And I'm looking at everybody. Everybody's looking like, and I'm like, what the hell are they looking at me like that for? I'm in here all the time. I look behind me and it's her. And she just wanted to see what was in there. And I was just like, she's crazy. And, she would invite me to, her. And, there was a party there. And I learned something. I asked her, because I didn't really care about asking her questions. But my questions was just some real, just regular questions. It wasn't no like, nothing about, stardom, this, that, and the other. It was just like, what's wrong with you? Why you afraid to sing in front of everybody? You do this all the time. It was like that. And she was like, I don't like singing in front of a small group of people. I'm like, yeah, because you acting mad shy there. Everybody's singing except you. It's your house. And she was like, no, I'm not doing it. And I looked at her and I'm like, yo, she's really shy. It just ended up being like a good relationship as far as like, just being real. Matter of fact, she taught me during Erotica because I didn't know anything about this. After Justify My Love, wasn't doing something like that. So she said to me, she says, I need to teach you how to do union contracts. And she sat down with me at the board. She goes, so when you have these musicians come in and play, she let me bring in whoever I wanted. She asked me, she goes, do you want to do this on your own or do you want Shep to help you? And I said, I want to do it on my own. And she said, okay. That is something I will never forget because she could have said, I want you on this record, but I know Shep has the experience. But
Yeah.
that's not how she did it, man. She actually gave me the option to decide on whether or not I wanted to do it by myself or with She, and I said by myself, and I'm not gonna lie, man, that lady never batted an eye, never questioned, never looked back, never wanted to make, she never vetted anybody I brought in to say, I want to use this musician. The point I'm really, I guess I'm trying to make is for a lot of people look at her like, some super bitch. And, but honestly, man, she's really not. She's really like, really down to earth. I don't know. She might get mad that I'm letting the cat out the bag, but she's a freaking sweetheart. She really is.
That's
She's
so
like,
nice of you. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah, she's like a softie, you ask me. But she's not one to be played with. But
In terms of songwriting, you told me that she insisted on working everything in the studio with you. She never brought the music home. How did
no,
she put together the lyrics and the melody to the beats you were making?
I would send her something, and then she would decide like what she liked, and then it's not like she would write it at home and come in. She would come in and she would write, and after she writes, we would cut the vocal. And
Right away.
yeah, and usually, except for going back and fixing some stuff, man, or if she might want to change something, that was really it, man. She said, "I want to teach you post production," and
Joe
you know what I
Moskowitz came
realized,
in.
huh?
Joe Moskowitz came in.
Yeah, Joey, yeah. So the crazy thing is that the part that she did for me that was educational is the reason why I share a lot of the things that I learned and I know along the way with these young kids coming up, because that's what she did to me. So she taught me, like, I do post production on everything now. That's part. I teach them you got to do post production. After it's done, you go back and you add little things and you find all of these things that you may have not added before, and you do post production. And
The so-called overdubs with like keyboards
yeah,
and
but
beats.
to me, the difference of overdubs and post production, which obviously they're kind of the same, but see, to me, the difference of post production is, it's like when you think the song is done, just go and check everything from top to bottom and make sure you didn't miss anything. To me, that was the post production part, and that's the part that she
Taught
kind of
you.
like, yeah,
She
yeah,
brought in. So,
yeah,
a lot of people say Madonna finds the right producer at the right moment. She shaped you. And
yeah, she
with
did.
many other of your colleagues, it's been the same. They all agree that she really is the co-producer. She is producing. She's actually
She
there. She's
is.
not just putting her name on the record.
No, you know what, man? It's like, for me, it's like she taught me that if it's right, then what's there to fix? You know what I mean? It's like you can overproduce something. If it's good, then it's good. You don't need to, to always change or feel the need to fix something, just for the sake of fixing it. And I mean, there was a lot that I really learned from her, from business to, just, well, the how to carry yourself. I might have got out of line a little bit, when I did you do it, as far as how to carry yourself. But
Tell us about Did You Do It? You get carried away a little bit in
well,
terms of pulling jokes with Madonna.
yeah, I mean, like, as serious as, we were, because she didn't play. She wanted to make sure that shit was done. It wasn't like playtime at the studio. But when we knew that things were locked down and where they were, things were pretty relaxed. And when they were relaxed, um, I'm a jokester anyway. I'm always cracking jokes, and that's always been me. And she was always cool with it, and she had her little smart shit to say, and I would too. I mean, look, she started calling me Big Head first.
Hmm. So
So,
what happened with Waiting? How did you turn that song into Did You Do It?
well, she was supposed to go to dinner with the guys that were doing the book, and I was working with George Karras, engineer at the time, and we were close to finishing the mix on Waiting. She told me to come to dinner with her and them. I guess she wanted someone to come along, and I was the one that was there. It's not like,
Hmm.
it's not like she called me up and asked me. I was there, so it's like, come with me, And I was just like, oh man, because we're almost finished with this. So I was just like, no, we're not doing that right now. So what ended up happening is she went by herself with the guys from the book, And so I figured this is perfect time for a prank. I didn't know she was coming back with them. That day was the first time we actually had drinks together. We were drinking gin because we were nearing the end. I think that was the last record we were gonna mix. And I remember her showing me her side butt cheek, and it had a beauty mark on it. And I said, you call it what you want. I call it a mole, okay? So, it was that, and then she told stories about going to a hotel and somebody had a fur coat on and a pamper, and
Wow.
I used to make jokes about, they had the 970 numbers that you can call up, the prostitution numbers and all of this, and I was trying to remember all of the craziest shit she said to me. And what would happen sometimes because of the way we would communicate with each other, some of the guys would sit there when she wasn't around, be like, "Yo, did you fuck Madonna?" And I'd be like, "What?" Like, "Nah, seriously, did you do it?" And I was just like, "No." It's like, "Come on, man." Because you be talking to her crazy, and nah, y'all are just a little too cool, man. Because she's not like that with everybody.
They saw the bonding between the two of you and they thought you were
Yeah,
sleeping together.
exactly. Yeah, so that day when I went in the booth, I asked Mark and I think it's Dave. I'm like, listen, I need you guys to go in the booth and I need y'all to go, did you do it? All right. I just need a bunch of those. Did you do it? Lyrically, we had a whole relationship, but we didn't. So people wanted to know. So they wanted to know, did I do it? So I figured, let me entertain them and let me give them the answers that they want, not the real
The
answers.
truth, but what they want. Let's give the
Yeah,
people what they want.
yeah. So I know she lived on Central Park West, and then I spoke about the mole on the hip, and and then it just turned into them going, "Did you do it?" And I'm like, I did it. I let the seat recline and I hit it, and that whole thing. And then when I finished, I really didn't think nothing of it. It was done. And when she came in with three guys from the book, and they had their suits on, and they were looking very serious. And I told George Karras, I said, hit play. And I could see the reflection
Of the
of them
faces
behind.
behind you.
Yeah. And she's right in the middle, and they're surrounding her, and you hear boom, doom, 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 doom. So she's thinking that she was gonna come in, and instead she hears tick, tick, tock. Mo was on my jock, and I don't know how this is gonna go over, but at this point it didn't matter. I let it go, and I'm sitting there and I'm listening, and I look up, and I feel her behind me, and she leans down. I feel water on my neck, and she goes, "Fucking insane." Right? So I turn around and let me tell you, bro, her eyes were just water. It was her eyelashes were just wet from crying. And then she switched it and went. She goes, "Okay, enough of that. Can we play the actual version, please?" She goes,
She
"That's not
went
the
back to
right version." She
business.
lets the guys know that's not the right version. So George goes to that, hits play, the song's done. At that point, she didn't have time to stick around to have a conversation about it.
So what happened to that? She called you months later to put it on the record?
So while I'm in Massachusetts working with Living Color, I get a phone call. Her and Freddie are on the phone. He goes, "Yeah, we need to talk about this song that you did. This Did You Do It?" And I'm sitting here saying, "But wait, hold on. It was a joke." Because I'm thinking they're pissed off about it. I said it was a joke. I said, "Madonna, you laughed the day that I did it. It was, I didn't mean anything by it." Because I did call her a hoe and all kind of stuff in the
Hmm.
song. But I'm thinking like after listening for a day or whatever, that she felt a little offended by it. And I'm like, is this shit about to affect my back end right now? So Freddie says, well, the problem is we can't put this in Kmart. And we have to put an explicit lyric sticker on it.
Just because of you.
Yeah, just because of me. And he's like, this is the first time she's ever had to put an explicit lyric sticker on any of her music. And he says, well, we want to put this out, but we have to do two separate albums. And I'm like, hell no. I was like, nah, 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 nah. I'm like, I'm not rapping, man. It was a joke. It was just a joke. And I'm thinking they're joking. And they offered me 75-25.
75% of royalty on the song against 25 for Madonna. So she reckoned that she put a lot onto that.
I guess they decided in case I didn't want to do it because they wanted to put it out, but I wasn't trying to come out like on this me rapping. It was a joke. I didn't perfect it. I didn't fix the stuff that I wanted to fix. I didn't get to do any of that. It was just a freestyle. I was like, I wasn't trying to put that out. But when they said that, I said, put it out. At this point, put it out. Freddie broke down to me the difference of putting it out and not putting it out. I said, put it out. And that was it, man. They ended up doing, so that was the first, explicit lyric sticker that, ever ended up on her record, you know?
Crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Originally, Did You Do It started, as we said, from Waiting. This was really a great, great song. And recently I ran a poll about the fans' favorite songs on the Erotica album. You'd be surprised how many people really enjoy Waiting, Where Life Begins, and Secret Garden. What
Oh,
was the feeling when you were making that song? Because Waiting is really about desire, but also pain. There's a lot of regret and there's a lot of anticipation and disappointment. How was the atmosphere as she was writing the song and putting down the first vocals? I think you told me it was eventually she used the demo vocal, the demo take in the
yes.
album.
I don't know. Madonna has a way of delivering the emotions even from paper, like I said, when she did The Beast Within, she read the Bible one take. So the emotion that she wants to show, it's there from the beginning. When some people have to work on, the vibe of what they're trying to do and how they want to come across, she didn't. When she did Waiting, she expressed her feelings right there, from paper. It was like the perfect match for each other, the way she delivered it. And to be honest, man, I didn't dive into what she was saying until later. I really didn't. It was just like later on, I'm sitting there and I'm really listening and I'm like, oh shit. I loved Waiting. I loved how she delivered Waiting. My favorite was Where Life Begins because to deliver her lyrics and put them together the way she did to be about her, you know what, was to me it was amazing that you
Yeah, she
can.
did really good job with double entendre. She talks
Yes,
about eating out at the same time. It's about cunnilingus and oral sex
yes.
on women, and it's really borderline at the same time, tongue in cheek, but also very serious. And there's a specific
I'm sorry.
cinematography about
I
it.
don't mean to cut you off, man, but that tongue in cheek was hilarious.
You had fun in the studio.
I'm sorry, but but you're right though, man. This is like the creativity that came with putting that together. It was classic to me. It was like not everybody can do that.
So, Andre, there's an outtake from those sessions that didn't make the Erotica album. It's the song called Dear Father. Tell us what happened to it. Madonna didn't use it, maybe because it didn't fit the themes of that album, but you have explained to me in the book how it was a song that you proposed to her out of gratitude to Mick Murphy, who was hosting you in his studio, and you
Yeah.
wanted to give him a chance. And so you developed a demo of a song that was kind of detached from the sound of Where Life Begins and Waiting. And Madonna had asked for more music, and she liked that one, and you demoed it. But when you submitted the publishing, as you were saying, she was teaching you everything about contracts and publishing and deposits. She
Yeah.
saw Mick Murphy's name, and she didn't want to release that song. Now, Mick Murphy was in the band The System with David Frank, and they were working with Madonna on in the music building back in the days with Stephen Bray before she signed with Warner's. And because she had a dispute with Mick Murphy at the time, she decided not to release that song.
For him letting me use the studio, because I use the studio for that and a few other things, for ideas. It was a good friend. So what I decided was, yo, listen, she wants me to do one more song. Why don't you hop in on this with me, and you can get some publishing. He was like, oh my God, yeah, boom. We went in. So I said, you started. At the time, I wasn't really doing club music like that. It's not where my background was. So we started doing it and so started programming. So a lot of that idea of how the bass line was and how some of that was Mick. You know what I mean? I added my parts and came in with what I felt worked and everything, but the vibe of Dear Father was Mick. Mick started the writing process, and this was for him to come in and get some publishing on it. So all of a sudden, I get a call. And one thing about Madonna, she don't mind calling you directly. She's not like have my people call you or none of that shit. She will call you. She calls me and I'm like, what's up? She goes, so is this Mick Murphy from the group The System? I was like, yeah. She goes, I'm not doing this song. I was like, okay. At that time, I wasn't going to ask her why, because why? Ask why. If this lady said she's not doing it, her reason for not doing it can't be important to me, because her reason for not doing it is important to her, and that trumps my importance to know why. It's not my business to know why. She says no, then it's no. But I guess she figured because I didn't ask, I found out why. And it just goes to show how you treat people can come back to bite you in the ass. And it's the simplest reason why is they were doing a show and she was opening.
Back in the days.
Yes, she was opening for them. They had a drum riser. She wanted to stand on it. They told her no. And she didn't forget it.
She didn't forget it. Now tell us about Secret Garden. That song has a beautiful piano by someone you call Sleepy Keys.
Yeah, that's my man. James Sleepy Keys Preston.
It's a beautiful song, beautiful
Yeah,
piano.
man. The main vibe of the piano before was boom 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 boom. That was it. That was it. And after getting in the studio and she's recording it and she's laid her vocal and I was just like, it was about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I called James. I said, yo, James, I said, man, I need you in the studio. And he was like, hey, give me a few minutes. I gotta get up. I gotta wash my face. I was like, yo, take a cab, man. We'll take care of it. Just hop in.
Wow, that was really nice of him.
And he shows up, and I don't know, it might be 2 o'clock in the morning. He comes in. He's like, yo, what's the song? I said, yo, don't matter, man. Just go on the piano. I'm gonna play you the first part, and then just do you. Do what you hear. And I'm like, it's all the same thing because nothing changes. The bass line, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, none of that's gonna change.
So it's
Leave
just
it there.
freestyle.
Yeah. So James goes in, he sits down, he puts his headphones on, and he's like this. He's like this. Count off comes in, and James comes in. Boom, boom, boom. And then the next thing you know, it was off and running. And again, one take.
Which
James
is why you
played
gave him that long coda at the end of the song with just piano and sax.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not stopping him. Just like let him rock. So we did other takes, but what I'm saying is that was the first take, and that's the take we used. Because Madonna heard all the embellishments and things he was doing at the end. She was like, no, that's it. Because I did one that was simplified, but no, she loved what he did. She heard the next day. And because I wanted to make sure I had enough that just in case. And when I played that, it was it. And he literally fell asleep at the piano at the end of the song.
Poor man.
He's like, James, yo, I had to go out. He's like, what? And I was like, okay. I started calling him Sleepy Keys from that point on.
Beautiful, beautiful story. Other trivia for you. She wanted to perform that song on the Arsenio Hall show. she had it sketched down. We found out through some diaries that came out from her makeup artist that were working on a performance of Secret Garden, but eventually she did the jazz version of Fever on that show. But
Ah,
again, she put it as a B-side to the other single, I'll Remember. And again, she used it in her directorial debut as a filmmaker, Filth and Wisdom. And also a couple of years ago, she did a beautiful post using Secret Garden on Instagram. So again, the beautiful songs stay on and linger for years and years.
yeah, and you know, these are all things that I don't know. And
I'm glad to share
really
that with you.
appreciate, yeah, I really appreciate you sharing these things with me because a lot of times I don't go back to look or to check, and it's just because it's just who I am. I mean, I'm not. I love that I've had, that experience in my life, and I carry a lot of the things that I've learned and have done along the way in my career and just in my life in general. But a lot of times I don't go back and listen to a lot, you know.
Of
But
course.
it is nice. It is nice when people like you share the things that I, didn't didn't see. You know what I mean? And
I think it's very important to document this, not just for Madonna, but also for the people who worked with her.
mm,
A lot of the times this is underrated because of the brouhaha around all of her career and the visual aspects of it, because
yeah.
she really cares about that too. But some people think that music is not that important, and I like to shed a light on how beautiful these songs are. For example, there's this down-tempo vibe, early trip hop that she later explored again in other records, and jazzy, and this femininity that comes through the song, being one with nature, connecting the garden and her sexuality. It's a really beautiful song. And one other trivia is that 20 years later, a fan in Paris asked her on a radio show, "Why do you talk about Fontainebleau, which is a French city outside of Paris?" And she said, "Somewhere in Fontainebleau lies my secret garden." And she revealed that although the song that she made with you was in 1991, in the late 70s, she briefly lived in Paris when she was trying to make a breakthrough as a backup singer and dancer for Patrick Hernandez. And she had a liaison with a guy called Daniel, and she remembered that. So she put it in the song and made
Oh,
that even more personal.
I didn't know that either, man. You're good. I will give you
Thanks.
that. Man. You're
Us
good.
fans love about these things. I'm not the only one. We love digging through these things, and putting them all together reveals how you and her did an amazing job putting together a song that was at the end of Erotica, but was definitely a beautiful chapter in that record. And I'm glad to finish this conversation with you on this note, because you guys did an amazing job. So thank you for the music that you gave us.
Well, thank you, and thank all of the fans that appreciate and enjoy the music because without them, what do we have? It's good to know that someone appreciates, because appreciation doesn't just come in a check. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
bigger than that. It's people that recognize and like and appreciate what you've done and will speak on it. And those are the things that I'm learning today. And I personally really appreciate that from you and from others and from the fans that are fans of her and my music that I created with her. And I think it's great, and it's educational for me as well. I get to learn a little bit more about myself and about
Oh,
things that
wow.
I've done. It's true.
Thank
Yeah,
you. And it's great to share. It's important to share, and it enriches us. It makes you better. We all feel better. And that's really beautiful. So thanks for being on this podcast, Dre. It was
absolutely.
really great.
Anytime, man.
Thank you.
I'm here for it.
Hey, did you enjoy this podcast? Isn't Andre Betts a great guy? How many stories and details and great thoughts has he shared with us today? I'm so grateful. Please leave your comments. I really care about your feedback, and I like to answer all of the messages that I get across all platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Podbean, everywhere. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. It's really important because you get notified when new episodes come out, and I have great new guests coming up soon. Let's keep in touch. Let's keep talking of Madonna's music. Yes, on Madonna's Songbook, it's all about the music. Let the music take control. See you next time.